Most people are paying $2,000 to $5,000 per month to SEO agencies to rank on Google. And honestly, I get it. SEO feels impossible. You're told you need to write dozens of blog posts, do keyword research for hours, build internal links, create killer content. It's overwhelming. But here's what those expensive agencies don't want you to know. I just built an entire SEO system that does all of this automatically for less than $1 per week. While everyone else is manually writing blog posts and hoping Google notices them, I'm using AI agents and N8N workflows to post 2 perfectly optimized SEO blogs every single week without me lifting a finger. The system finds trending keywords, writes the content, adds internal and external links, creates images, and publishes everything to WordPress completely automated. And the crazy part, this isn't some theoretical concept. I'm literally using this exact system right now to rank for competitive keywords in the AI space. And I'm about to show you the entire workflow, every node, every prompt, every automation, so you can copy it and start ranking for your own keywords. Because here's the thing, while your competitors are still paying thousands to agencies or spending 20 hours a week writing blogs manually, you're going to have a system that works 24/7 in the background, consistently pushing your website higher in Google's rankings. So, if you ever wanted to dominate SEO without the massive time investment or the expensive monthly bills, this is exactly what you need to see. I added the AI tools that we're going to use in the description, so you can check them out. Let me show you how it works before we start building it step by step. We'll start by executing the workflow. After we execute the workflow, the whole process runs automatically from start to finish, moving through 5 key stages: planning, making HTML and inline links, creating titles, slugs, and summaries, image generation with Nano, and posting. It begins in Google Sheets, flows through planning and content creation, generates HTML, adds optimized metadata, produces hyper-realistic images, and ends with a finished blog published directly on WordPress. Alright, the run kicks off with planning, where 4 AI agents, preliminary plan, research, final plan, and writing, work together to structure and refine the content. The Google Sheet nodes only pull in topics labeled as not completed, which ensures every new post is based on fresh ideas. Looking at the sheet, you'll see the important columns: cluster, intent, keywords, primary keyword, and completed status, all guiding how each blog is built. Next comes making HTML and inline links. At this stage, the workflow gathers completed rows from the sheet, builds internal links into the structure, and generates HTML that's ready for direct publishing into WordPress. After that is creating titles, slugs, and summaries, where the system automatically generates each piece based on the content created earlier. These elements play a critical role in both SEO and readability, giving every post a polished and search-friendly presentation. The 4th stage is image generation with Nano. Using the title and summary as input, Nano creates hyper-realistic images tailored to the post. Known as a powerful image generation tool, it ensures each article has professional visuals without requiring extra design work. Finally, the workflow moves into posting. The completed blog is published in WordPress, and the Google Sheet updates automatically to mark the post as completed. From the completed sheet, you can click the generated URL to open the live blog right away. This workflow automates everything because doing all of that manually, research, writing, formatting, illustrations, and publishing can take hours for just one post, and often requires a full team. Here, the workflow takes care of every post, stay consistent, back research, illustrated with realistic visuals, and tracked in sheets so progress is always clear. It reduces repetitive work, speeds up publishing, and delivers professional quality blogs with minimal effort. You've already seen how the full workflow is running from start to finish. So now let's break it down piece by piece. The first step will be making sure the workflow can start on command or on a schedule, and that it's always pulling in fresh topics from Google Sheets. This is where the triggers and the first sheet connection come into play. We will start with 2 triggers, a manual trigger and a schedule trigger. The manual trigger will let us run the workflow anytime on demand, which is perfect for testing or urgent publishing. The schedule trigger will handle everything automatically at set intervals, generating and publishing new posts to WordPress without us needing to step in. For this demo, we'll leave the schedule at its default, but you can adjust it to fit different use cases. Having both triggers will give us flexibility. We can run the workflow manually when we want a quick control, or rely on a schedule to keep content flowing consistently. Once that's set, the next step will be connecting the system to Google Sheets so it always works with fresh topics. To do this, we'll add a Google Sheets Get Row in Sheet node. We'll set resource to sheet within document and operation to get rows. Then we'll select the document from the list, choose the target sheet, and add a filter so the workflow only looks at rows where the completed column is set to no. That way, we're only pulling in topics that haven't been published yet. There's one more option we'll turn off. Return only the first matching row, instead of pulling every row marked no. This makes the node return just the first available one. Let's execute this step. Here, the node pulls the 7th row from the sheet, which is the first row where the completed column is set to no. This flow ensures the workflow always starts with a valid trigger and fresh content, keeping the process clean and consistent. Now it's time to turn raw topics into something usable. This preliminary plan agent will spin those ideas into a rough outline we can actually build on. Instead of starting from scratch, this step is giving us structure, direction, and a draft we can refine later. In order to set it up, we're going to add an AI agent node into the workflow. For the configuration, we'll choose source for prompt as defined below. Then we'll paste in the prepared script for the user message and the system message. Once that's ready, we'll rename the node to keep it clear, so it's obvious what this stage is doing. Next, we'll add a chat model and select GPT-5 for reasoning. In order to push the outputs even further, we'll also attach a think tool, giving the agent more depth and accuracy in its responses. After executing the step, the agent will generate a preliminary plan, a rough but usable draft that guides the blog writing and posting process. The preliminary plan agent makes sure the content creation process begins with a clean framework, without locking into final details too early. It captures broad ideas, possible angles, and a rough flow, giving the workflow material to build on. Now think of it as sketching the blueprint. It speeds up the creative process, reduces blank page hesitation, and sets up the final plan agent to refine and polish the draft into a well-structured, ready-to-use plan. However, a plan without research is just guesswork, so the next step is giving your outline some real banking. The research agent is handling that, pulling in references, evidence, and credible sources that make the content trustworthy. We don't want to just leave the draft floating on ideas alone. This stage is grounding it in facts and data we can actually cite later. Setting it up is straightforward. We are going to add an AI agent now. Let's start configuring it. I am going to set the source for prompt as defined below. The prepared script will go into both the user message and the system message. Here, you can see the prompts clearly, and these are the instructions that will drive the agent. After that, the node gets renamed to research agent, so its role in the workflow stays clear. For the model, we're choosing Perplexity Sonar Pro, since it specializes in pulling information from valid sources. That way, the workflow isn't just generating files, it will gather citations, facts, and references the later agents can actually use. Running this step outputs a collection of relevant sources tied to the topic at hand. Now that we have this here, the workflow has a stronger knowledge base, reducing the risk of misinformation and setting up the final plan and writing agents with richer material to refine into a finished post. The brainstorming and research give us raw material, but this is where everything starts taking shape. The final plan agent will be pulling the preliminary draft and research together into a structured outline that's ready for execution. It will organize the topic, search intent, and keywords into a single plan that will guide the writing agent in the next stage. Setting it up means adding another AI agent node into the workflow and configuring it just like before. Source for prompt as defined below. We'll paste in again the prepared script for both the user message and the system message. Once that's done, we'll rename the node to Final Plan Agent, so its role is easy to identify. Here's where this step gets more specific. If any red lines appear from mapping mismatches, we'll resolve them by linking the fields from the Google Sheet node, mapping keywords from the Sheet's Keywords field, search intent from the Intent field, and primary keyword from the Primary Keyword field. That way, the agent is working directly with the right data. For the model, we'll select GPT-5 to handle reasoning, and we'll add a think tool to push its outputs further, making sure the outline is sharp and comprehensive. Let's execute this one. There it is. The output is no longer just a draft, as it is now a clear, actionable plan. The final plan agent removes any ambiguity, ensures SEO alignment, and produces a roadmap that makes the writing stage smooth and consistent. Let's turn plans into prose. We're going to take everything the workflow has prepared, the preliminary plan, the research agent's sources, and the final plan, and hand it to a writing agent that will generate the full article end to end. No more outlines here. We're going to produce a complete, detailed draft that's ready for formatting and publishing. We'll add an AI agent node and set source for prompt to define below. Then, as usual, paste in the prepared script for both the user message and the system message. After that, we'll follow the same process. We're renaming the node Writing Agent so its role stays unmistakable inside the canvas of nodes. For the model, I'll select Claude Sonnet 4 to handle the writing itself. Clear structure, natural flow, and depth in long-form output. To strengthen reasoning and coherence, we're also going to attach a think tool. And in order to keep numbers, formulas, and quick checks reliable, we're adding a calculator tool as well. Let's put this in action. After executing this step, the agent will pull from the final plan and weave in the research agent's citation and the preliminary plan's direction, which turns structured inputs into readable, publication-ready content. Keep in mind that if we skip this step, the workflow would stall at planning. This agent handles the actual writing, taking care of the heavy lifting automatically. Every blog post becomes more powerful when it connects back to what's already been published. We don't want users to manually dig through old posts and add links one by one, so we're letting the workflow pull them in automatically. This step is all about fetching completed blogs from Google Sheets and then combining them into a single dataset that can be used for inline linking. We'll start by dropping in a Google Sheets Get Row in Sheet node. In the configuration, we'll set resource to sheet within document and operation to get rows. From there, we'll select the right document and the target sheet. Running the step will fetch multiple rows representing completed blog posts, giving us the raw material for linking. Next, we'll add an aggregate node. For the configuration, we'll set aggregate to all item data into a single list. Choose data for put input in field and include all fields. Now, if we execute this step, this will pull all the completed blog rows together and merge them into one clean block of structured data. Now, the workflow has a single dataset holding all past posts, ready to be referenced in the new article. Inline linking will happen seamlessly, boosting SEO, keeping readers on the site longer, and making each blog feel more connected without adding any extra manual effort. Like what I mentioned earlier, manually adding links into every blog post is tedious and easy to get wrong. Miss one and you lose a chance to boost SEO or keep readers on the site longer. So after aggregating past posts into a single dataset, the next step is to put that data to work. The inline link agent taps into it and automatically weaves relevant references into the draft. We'll add an AI agent node into the workflow and set source for prompt to define below. Like before, we'll paste in the prepared script for both the user message and the system message. Once that's ready, we'll rename the node to Inline Links Agent so its role is obvious inside the workflow. Here, we'll select GPT-5 again for the model to handle reasoning, and we'll attach a think tool to strengthen the outputs with more depth. Executing the step lets the agent scan the aggregated dataset and generate inline references that slot seamlessly into the new blog post. Inline links aren't just nice extras, they're essential. They tell search engines how your posts relate to each other and help readers stick around to explore more. The draft now comes preloaded with links placed exactly where they make sense, strengthening connections between posts, guiding readers naturally, and making every article richer and more professional. without any manual effort. Now, every blog post needs more than just text. It also needs clean HTML that's ready to publish. Rather than formatting everything by hand, we're going to let the workflow generate the code directly so the article can move straight into WordPress without delays. In order to handle this, we're going to use an OpenAI message a model node, which is faster and more reliable for large structured outputs like HTML. We'll add the node into the workflow and set resource to text and operation to messenger model. For the model, we'll select GPT-5 Chat Latest. Then we'll paste in the prepared script for both the user and system prompts and toggle on Simplify Output to keep the results clean. Here you can see the prompts that serve as the instructions to guide the output. After executing this step, we got here a block of clean HTML code, ready to use and already structured for publishing. This saves us from manual formatting, reduces the risk of errors, and keeps the workflow moving smoothly at scale. Before moving any further, it's a good idea to get everything organized. The workflow is already generating plans, research, HTML, and a full draft. But if we don't structure those outputs, things can get messy fast. That's what the set field node is for. It acts like a checkpoint, pulling together all the important values and giving them clean labels so the rest of the workflow can reference them without confusion. We'll add a set field node into the workflow and switch the mode to manual mapping. From here, we'll map each field to its source: cluster from the sheet node's cluster field, intent from the intent field, keyword from the keyword field, HTML from the message a model node's content, final output from the writing agent, final plan from the final plan agent, research output from the research agent, and preliminary plan from the preliminary plan agent. After executing the step, the workflow now has a clean, standardized dataset. Every key piece of information, plans, research, keywords, and generated content is neatly organized and ready to be used by the next nodes. This makes the workflow more reliable, reduces mapping errors, and keeps it easy to manage even as it scales. Even with a full draft, research, and HTML in place, the blog isn't ready to publish just yet. What's missing are the final touches that make it professional and SEO ready: a compelling title, a clean URL slug, and a concise summary. The slug plus title plus summary agent will handle all of that automatically, making sure every post has the metadata it needs before going live on WordPress. To set this up, we'll add an AI agent node into the workflow and configure it with source for prompt defined below. We'll paste in the prepared script for both the user message and the system message. Then toggle on require specific output format so the results stay structured. For the model, we'll select GPT-5 again for reasoning. Also, to sharpen the results, we'll attach a think tool, and to make sure the metadata is formatted consistently, we'll add a structured output parser. Finally, we'll rename the node slug plus title plus summary agent so its purpose is clear. Let's execute the step. The output now includes a finished slug, title, and summary that slot neatly into the publishing pipeline. The title draws readers in, the slug creates clean, SEO-friendly URLs, and the summary boosts readability while powering previews and social shares. Automating this step keeps everything consistent, saves time, and prevents errors. This also guarantees that every post has the supporting fields WordPress needs, transforming raw AI content into something fully production-ready. No blog feels complete without visuals. Images catch the eye, break up long sections of text, and make posts feel more polished and professional. We don't need to search for stock photos or design graphics manually. We're going to let the workflow generate custom, hyper-realistic visuals using Nano Banana through KIE AI. Each image will be tied directly to the blog's title and summary, so it's always on topic and relevant. To build this, we'll add an HTTP request node into the workflow. From there, we'll go to the Nano Banana model page on KIE AI and paste the example CURL request provided. Back in N8N, that request will be imported directly into the HTTP request node. The next step is generating an API key from KIE AI's API key page and pasting it beside bearer in the authorization header. After the setup is ready, we'll replace the default JSON with map prompts to control the generation. The title and summary are both pulled from the slug plus title plus summary agent node, giving Nano Banana the exact context it needs to create relevant images. Executing the step shows the workflow producing a hyper-realistic image automatically through the HTTP request. At this point, the blog isn't just written and structured. It now comes with unique, tailored visuals that elevate engagement and make every post look professional from the start. But image generation doesn't always happen instantly. Depending on the complexity of the request, Nano may take a little time to process. To prevent the workflow from moving too fast and trying to use an image before it's ready, we're dropping in a wait node as a simple buffer. Adding the node is straightforward. We'll configure it with a wait amount of 1 and set the wait unit to minutes. This short pause gives the system enough breathing room to finish generating the image before the workflow continues. After saving and executing, the workflow pauses as expected, holding for 1 minute before moving on to the next step. That built-in delay keeps everything smooth, avoiding errors and ensuring the image is ready when the workflow needs it. After giving Nano enough time to finish, the next step is actually retrieving the generated image. The post request kicked off the job, but it didn't return the final file right away. To pull the completed image into our workflow, we'll add a get HTTP request node. Inside N8N, we'll drop in the node and configure it using the CURL example provided on the Nano model page. That request is then pasted into the node so the workflow knows how to check the status of the image generation. Under Task ID, we'll map the dynamic value from the previous post node to make sure the request is tied to the right job. For authorization, we'll copy the API key we used earlier and paste it into the header in bearer format. After executing this step, the workflow fetches the finished Nano image. Right now, the image is no longer pending and it's ready to be used in a blog post and carried forward into the publishing stage. Sometimes, even after running the GET request, the image still isn't ready. I don't want to let the workflow fail or try to move forward with an incomplete file. Here, we can build in a simple loop that keeps checking until the image is fully processed. This will be done using an if node paired with a wait node. We'll start by adding an if node into the workflow. For value 1, we'll map the state from the GET request node. The type is set to string and the condition is equal to. For value 2, we'll enter success. This creates the condition. If the state is not success, the workflow will follow the false branch. Next, we'll attach a wait node to the false branch. The wait amount is set to 30 and the unit is set to seconds, giving Nano more time to finish processing. Then we'll connect the wait node back to the get request node so the workflow loops until the state changes to success. Once this logic is in place, the workflow keeps retrying automatically until the image is marked complete. Only then does it continue, guaranteeing that the final image is always ready before moving into the publishing stage. APIs rarely return outputs in a perfectly clean format. The image URL retrieve comes wrapped in JSON, with braces, brackets, and extra characters that won't work well when passed directly into publishing nodes. To fix that, we're adding another set field node that cleans up the result JSON value and turns it into a simple, usable string. After dropping the node into the workflow, we'll configure it by mapping the result JSON from the previous node. The type is set to string, and we'll use a short piece of prepared JavaScript to strip out the unwanted characters. Once everything is set, we'll run the step. We got here a clean URL, free of the clutter that comes with raw JSON. Instead of risking mapping errors or broken links, the workflow has a polished string that can be passed forward into the publishing stage without problems. Alright, publishing usually means logging into WordPress, formatting everything by hand, and double-checking details. Here, the workflow eliminates all of that, hosting the final blog securely and consistently through automation. Using OAuth 2 authentication, the HTTP request node handles the publishing step directly, creating a smooth end-to-end pipeline from planning to live article. To build this, we'll add an HTTP request node into the workflow and set the method to post. The URL comes from the prepared script, which changes depending on your WordPress site. For authentication, we'll select the generic credential type and use OAuth 2 API. Inside N8N, we'll generate new credentials by creating an application in the WordPress developer resources. Then copy over the authorization URL, access token URL, client ID, and client secret. The scope will be set to global. Authentication goes in the body, and once saved, the connection is ready. Next, we'll configure the request parameters. Headers are enabled with content type set to application/JSON. The body includes the title and slug from the slug plus title plus summary agent node. The content pulled in with a prepared JavaScript expression and the status set to publish. Let's execute this step. The workflow now sends the complete blog post directly to WordPress. The node returns a link that we can open to confirm the post is live. At this point, the entire process, planning, writing, image duration, formatting, and publishing is fully automated. A little reminder for those using WordPress.org instead of WordPress.com. The built-in WordPress node in N8N can replace the HTTP request method. You simply paste in your WordPress credentials and map the fields, and the workflow will publish just as smoothly. The last piece of the pipeline is keeping records straight. After a post goes live, we don't want to track it manually in spreadsheets or risk forgetting to mark it as completed. The workflow will handle this automatically with two simple steps: updating the original sheet to mark the topic as finished, and appending the finalized blog details into a dedicated completed sheet. First, we'll add a Google Sheets update row in sheet node. The resource is set to sheet within document and the operation to update row. We'll select the same document and sheet used earlier, then switch mapping column mode to manual. For column to match on, we'll choose row_number and map it from the Google Sheets node at the start of the workflow to make sure the right row is updated. From there, we are going to remove any unnecessary data and set the completed column to yes. Running the step confirms the update by returning a yes, which means the blog status is now marked complete. Next, we'll add a Google Sheets append row in sheet node. Again, resource is set to sheet within document and the operation to append row. We'll select the document and then target the completed sheet. In manual mapping mode, we'll match each field carefully. Blog title from the slug plus title plus summary agent, keywords from the get row sheet node, summary from the slug plus title plus summary agent, and the URL from the post notes link field. Executing this step successfully logs the entry into the completed sheet. Right now, the loop is closed. The workflow not only plans, writes, and publishes blog posts, but also keeps a clean, up-to-date record of every article that goes live. From ideation to publishing to record keeping, the system is fully automated, leaving no gaps to manage formally. From ideation to publishing to record keeping, the system is fully automated, leaving no gaps to manage manually. Thanks for watching. I hope this breakdown helps you see how simple it is to run SEO on autopilot. Don't forget to check the tools in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.